I got into real estate at 23. I had just gotten married, and I sold real estate for 2 years. I sold 42 units my first year, 61 units my second year. This is back in the 80s when nobody was doing that kind of transactional volume. And I went to work for Coldwell Banker because it had always been my dream to lead the largest real estate company in the world. And so I had a vision and decided that I was going to be the CEO and the leader of the largest real estate company in the world when I was 25 years old. I thought Coldwell Banker was the place to do that. And so I joined as a branch manager of an office that had been 11 months, opened 11 months before and had lost $280,000. And I made it the number 2 office in Austin. It was second to Keller Williams. And I didn't know Gary Keller. By the way, I should say there was company-owned offices at Coldwell Banker. They got sold to a local franchisee, and I had always said that the public does business with the agent, not the company. The agent is CEO of their own business. The role of the company is to give the agent the resources, the support, the infrastructure, so that they can build their best career possible. I always told the agents I worked for them. And so I was a little bit of a freak in Coldwell Banker, but my office was growing. And the new guy came in and he said, well, let me tell you, the way it's going to work is we're going to retain 40% of GCI's company dollar, and we're going to make 10% profit margins. And that's the way it's going to be. And I didn't have commission splits like that, and I refused to roll my agents back, so I got fired. And I went back into sales. This is in 91. And I sold $2.3 million from scratch. Not one person bought a house from me. This was a down market. I knocked on doors for 2 hours a day. I lead generated till noon every single day. And I had made, I made $100,000. I made just shy of $100,000 in 3 months. And I was doing good. I was making more money than I made as a manager at Coldwell Banker. And I get a call from Gary Keller, and he says, hey, I'm looking for a sales manager for my Austin offices. And Betsy Sheffy, who's a dear friend still today, said to call you. And so I met Gary Keller. We had lunch together, and it was almost as though I had found my business soulmate. And when I say business soulmate, it's like we were just completing each other's sentences. We were going hand in hand. And we agreed completely on what the function of the real estate company was, how the company should treat the agent. And next thing I knew, I was the team leader of the original Keller Williams office. I think we called them offices then. I don't even think it was a market center then. And I built that to be one of the top real estate offices in the world. Decided I wanted what Gary Keller went to him and said, I want what you have. And Gary pointed me to San Antonio, got me to open up my checkbook and write a check. I spent every dime I had starting a franchise in San Antonio. Next thing I know, I was the regional director of Central Texas and South Texas. I built a network of 7 real estate offices with thousands of agents, and got tapped to be the president of Keller Williams in 2001, 2002, that era. And at that point, Keller Williams was a much smaller company, and it was my job to grow the company as the president. So I got to work with the regional directors and succeed through the regional owners and directors of Keller Williams. The Millionaire Real Estate Agent book got launched, and it was put out there for the real estate public. And we used that as a vehicle to show that Keller Williams was a training and consulting company that was generally disguised as a real estate company. 2005, I was made the CEO of the company, and I got to announce that we were the largest in the nation, which had always been my goal and my dream. I hit like the top of a pinnacle in a career, and I wasn't sure what was next, because I'm a person who's sort of driven by challenge. I need a mountain to climb. I didn't have a new mountain to climb, and so I had to go look for one. I found one, and here we are again. So, yeah.
Hey,
That's
Mark, I want to go back because I remember a story. Now, I don't know if this is Gary's version or your version. I can't remember who told it to me, but I want agents to hear this because I think a lot of times real estate agents don't understand that sometimes when you take and make a big commitment like you did to take on those challenges that Gary was putting in front of you, it can feel a little bit like you're going backwards. And there was a conversation, and I heard this, third party, but maybe you'll remember the conversation where in the beginning you kind of felt like you were going backwards instead of going forward. But what you really realized was you were actually getting paid to build your wealth. And it was, so can you talk about that a little bit? Do you
I,
remember?
I'd love to talk about it. I think that any time that we take something on that is a new role, a new mission for life, that we are going to be challenged to do whatever it takes. And so I had made a very simple decision, and I made this decision in the early 90s, and that was that I was going to earn as much in equity income as I earned in job income. And back then, I've always been good at earning job income. I think I'm a pretty good empire builder, wealth determiner. And so I was making about 250,000 a year in job income and profit sharing when you put it all together. And I went into the world of being a business owner. And I went all the way backwards to about $150,000 a year. And I had to push like the devil. I had to cut back. I think often we have to be willing to go backwards to go forward. And I think that our resolve, our will, our commitment, our faith in what we're doing will always be tested. And we have to be willing to confront that test head on with a willingness to say, I got a bigger vision for my life. I'm going to go farther than where I was before. And that vision is the fuel for what I'm doing. And you have to be so committed to that vision and believe in yourself and have faith that everything will turn out if you do the right things and you surround yourself with the right people. So the circle of five means everything. We become the average of the five people we spend the most time with. And certainly in business, we become the average of our five closest mentors. And I had an amazing set of mentors and business associates, and I just powered through. It wasn't another 10 months, and I was back ahead of where I had been before. But I remember this kind of lean 10-month period, and I thought, oh, I don't like lean because, Linda knows me. I'm a really good consumer. I know how to spend money effortlessly. I I like and enjoy money, and I like and enjoy success. I think I enjoy success more than money because if I were money motivated purely, I would probably still be in KWRI leadership. Really, for me, money is it's what you use to fund your life with. And I always had a big vision for my life. And now I have an even bigger vision because I've made a commitment to myself. I said earlier that I had this objective that I would make more in equity income than I made in job income. And my new commitment is that I'm going to give away $100 million when I turn 70 years old. And I've been blessed to earn a lot of income. And I want to leave a legacy that does good for the world, brings people hope, shows them what's possible, and helps people who are less fortunate than we are. And so that's the power of where I'm going. By the way, I should mention during my hiatus, I purchased I wish I had one here. I'm at a friend's house today because I went to New Braunfels last night, and I came and spent the night with a friend. So I wish I had this, but I have this little brain supplement that I bought. It's a 2.5 ounce liquid brain supplement that causes you to have better clarity, focus, and concentrate with better accuracy access better memory, give you a little dopamine and energy boost, and it's called brain juice. And so I bought that firm, went through all the hard knocks. It's now 5 years into that. We are now in tens of thousands of retailers. We're on Amazon, and I'm really excited about owning a consumer products company. And yet that didn't fulfill my need to help other people, because even though Brain Juice is an amazing product that I would never want to be without, and when I work out, by the way, Brain Juice Active is the best workout supplement I've ever had of all of them. Even though that's doing a lot of good for people and helping them, I'm really first and foremost a people leader. And I love leading people. I love working with people. I love helping people get what they want. So, yeah, it's a big vision, 100 million in 10 years. I turned 60, by the way, this year, and I've never felt better. Never been more energized, and never felt more purpose.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm actually laughing, Mark, Linda, you'll know. So one, Mark, my fiance, Adam Roach, adores you, said to tell you hello. But Adam always says that I'm the greatest consumer he knows. But then he said, and then he met Linda. And so he said he gets so scared when I go traveling with Linda. Because between the two of us, oh my gosh, consumer wise, we're liable to get into some trouble.
Hey, we'll probably take
For Adam Roach. I have big respect for Adam Roach. I think he's amazing. And we're supposed to be getting together pretty soon.
Oh, good. He'll love that. Well, Linda, do you care if I'm going to knock off one of my lists? Okay. So, Mark, we are developing a leadership academy, and so a lot of the people that are going to be watching this are leaders. And so, a couple of the questions, one, and you kind of touched on this, and Linda and I've talked about this before. Do you think people are born leaders, or do you think that they can be made into a leader?
I think that people are born with a mission in life that they're supposed to fulfill. And I do believe that. And yet, I don't think anybody is ever born a leader. I think that you have to develop your leadership skills. I think some people have more, behaviorally. We all have our unique behavioral style. And I think some behavioral styles are more prone to leading others than, less assertive, extroverted behavioral styles. And yet, I think that even though you may have the ability to be persuasive and lead other people naturally, that doesn't mean that you have the ability to lead others. And I think most people can't lead because they have trouble leading themselves to begin with. So if you want to lead other people, you have to learn how to lead yourself. And that journey starts with self-awareness. You have to see yourself with accuracy. And John Maxwell said the hardest person to lead is yourself. And the reason that is, and this is kind of, by now it's a broken record, and yet it's always good to hear it. We judge other people by their actions. We judge ourselves by our intentions. And yet, if we really want to develop as a leader, we need to stop looking at our intentions and start watching our actions and what we do. And then we get to know ourselves really well as leaders. And that self-awareness of that journey, one of the things like in Mark Willis Leadership, which I've launched, and we have, all sorts of, by the way, I want to invite everybody to please go to willisleadership.com, get on our mailing list. This is a copy of our magazine that just came out. It's got Kay Evans on the cover. Here is the last journal. Everything that we do is based on our core belief that leadership should never be more about the leader than it is about the led. And in the real estate industry, here's what I know. People get into the real estate industry because they want to be their own boss. And yet they haven't learned how to lead themselves effectively yet because we don't see ourselves accurately. And self-discipline is the roadmap to results. We have to be able to find our groove of self-discipline to get where we want to go. And people don't naturally do that. And so Willis Leadership, Mark Willis Leadership, is founded to help people navigate that journey. And, you know, who I am really first and foremost as a leader is I'm an encourager. And I'm a servant leader. So as an encourager, the way I think is I want to bring out the best in people. And yet the one thing I've learned is that you cannot lead people that are not aligned with you on that journey. You cannot lead people that don't want what you want. Mm-hmm. And I think that we waste a lot of time trying to lead people who don't want what we want. And we don't find that alignment in terms of what we all want in the beginning. So I think alignment where you earn a relationship and you serve the person you earn the relationship with, and then backed up with encouragement, backed up with praise, and backed up with conversations that are meaningful that help that person get what they want, is way more powerful than accountability. I think accountability works for a while to get people in their self-discipline groove, that they should earn the right to have autonomy once you know they're aligned with you and they want what you want, and you've earned a relationship and they've proven themselves. And so I always look for alignment first when I'm leading others. Got to have somebody who wants the same thing, and they got to want it badly.
So, Mark, can you give me an example of what would you mean by alignment? They have big dreams and goals that are going to support, and they're going to get them by following your vision. What does that alignment look like? Be a little more specific so our audience can kind of understand what is that. What would that look like? What am I looking for? How would I know it? That kind of stuff.
Okay, well, I'll give you an example. Gary Keller and I wanted the same exact thing. He didn't have to teach me to want it. I already wanted it just as badly as he wanted it. So we were aligned in purpose. So when you're building a team, for example, you're only going to succeed through people who want what you want, and they want it just as badly as you want it. Now, in terms of real estate agents, what I find is we have to help them get in touch with their core purpose and what it is that they want. What's their mission? What really matters to them? What's really important to them? And then dig deep, unpack what they know is important to them, and then help them identify a vision for their life and their careers. And then once they understand that, help them get aligned with the strategies that are most effective given their behavioral style, given their goals, given their vision for their lives. And so I always start with, well, what do you want? Well, most people can't even identify what they want. They're either afraid to say it, or they're going to tell you what they think you want to hear. This has to be an authentically, heartfelt purpose that they can get in touch with. So the way you help people understand what they want is to talk to them about what's important to them and help them get clarity about that. Then once they get clarity about that, they can get into what they want and start to define that. And then once you know that, then it's a matter of helping them build the habits and disciplines that will lead them to success. You know, that I mentioned that we have a program. We have a program that we're launching. We're doing a beta group right now. We're launching the beta group. It's called the High Why Habit. And High Why is an acronym for high intensity work interval habit. So about 11 years ago, I decided that I was going to get fit. I was about to turn 50. I was 49 years old. I looked at myself and I thought, okay, I don't look the way I want to look, and I want to have the energy to be the father that I need to be. I want to be the role model for my daughter. I want to be relevant. And I didn't feel like it was relevant to be overweight, particularly at that age. And so I got focused on physical fitness and physical training. And I'm still obsessed with physical fitness and training. In fact, the reason I have an 11 o'clock, Linda, is that I have to go change from my workout clothes. I have a virtual workout with my trainer from Equinox at 11 o'clock today. And she's tough as nails. So when I first started working out, I was introduced to this program called HIIT training. And HIIT training is high intensity interval training. And, I joined Orange Theory, I did CrossFit, I did all those different things. But HIIT training works like this. You go 3 minutes, full speed, full intensity. Then you slow down for 2 minutes, slow your heart rate down. You go 3 minutes, full speed, full intensity, slow your heart rate down. So during that 8 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever it is, if you go full speed on, slow it down, full speed on, slow it down in intervals, you actually build more muscle and burn more calories than if you had gone the full 10 minutes full on high intensity. And I thought, well, that's a remarkable concept. I wonder if that would work for productivity. And so I did some research, and I found that there's all this psychology and science that shows that if you do a time-focused, time-blocked, hyper-intensive lead generation sprint for a defined period of time, you know who you're going to call, you know what you're going to say, and you have everything planned, and you go into that protected, closed work environment, and you laser focus on that activity for 45 minutes. And then you follow that up with a 15-minute break, and during that 15-minute break, you don't do business. You take a walk, you stretch, you work out, you call a good friend, you meditate. That you give your brain time to take a recess and relax. And that the psychology and the science shows that if you do that 2-3 times a day, then you don't look. What agents want is they want control of their time, which typically they do not have. And they want to have their income opportunity unlimited, and yet they don't know how to lead themselves effectively always, because we need help on that. No one succeeds alone. So we created the High Y Habit group, which is 3 45-minute high-intensity lead generation intervals. We give them the scripts, we give them the tools, we give them everything that they need, and they pay a monthly subscription to be a part of that. We're building a $500,000 app that will track your activities and show your results consistently, kind of like Noom does for weight loss, except this is going to be productivity for the real estate industry. And I'm super excited about launching this. I think this helps people navigate their journey and live better and more fulfilling lives and have far better control over their career. That's great. Linda, I always think about this. I think about, you brought us Dr. Gross. Mm-hmm. And I remember you saying, well, the purpose of life is to have a really good life, and the purpose of business is to fund that really great life. And that stuck with me. And I thought, that's the way it ought to be. Yeah. Well, I think that, when we're working alone independently as real estate professionals, we need help figuring out what to do so we can fund that really great life with our business. So that's where I come from.
I love it. I love that. And, Dr. Gross had something that ties into that a little bit too. He taught us to channel. In other words, if your mind is like a TV channel, you turn it and you focus on what you're supposed to focus on. So his one of his things was when you're at work, you work, right? And because we work long hours and we're not productive during those, I always like to say we feel guilty when we're not working because we didn't work when we were supposed to work, right? And so I love that, especially for someone who's ADD and, I hate something that's long and rigid and, I'm going to squirrel off anyway, but I know I could stay focused for, 10 minutes or whatever number of minutes I needed to do that. I love that, Mark.
Yeah, there's a lot of science that backs this up. I mean, universities have done studies about how students study best. A student's far better off studying for 45 minutes and then taking a break and doing that a couple of times than if they're setting aside like a long, like I'm going to cram
Yeah,
for 6 hours and take no dose or whatever it is. They're better off with these intervals that are consistent and planned. And so this is about planning consistency. And really, this is about having sustainable, predictable success over time, no matter what the market's doing, because we're in a great market right now. I mean, we're in the market of our lifetimes.
yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. We're probably making more money than we spend. And yet, when that market shifts, everything we put aside, if we're not busy disciplining ourselves, keep that lead generation like turn going, we'll have to dip into the money we put aside. And that doesn't build wealth, because if you want to build wealth, you make more than you spend. You then invest it wisely, your surplus, and then you leave it alone long enough for it to return the money you want it to return. And if you're not prepared for the down cycles, you're going to be dipping into what you invested. You'd be back in the same exact situation that you resent and don't want to be a part of. So this is about helping people, serving people.
So, Mark, okay, speaking of helping people, a lot of the agents that are going to watch this are contemplating whether leadership might be something that they want to get into in the future. And a lot of times what they say to us is, I just don't know, one, if I want to go backwards to go forwards, which you already kind of touched on that. And two is leadership is so hard. Isn't leadership so hard? How do you deal with all the people that you can't make happy all the time? So my next question is, how did you deal with and or push through not being able to make everybody happy as a leader when you were, because you were leading hundreds of thousands of people at that time?
Well, leadership, first and foremost, I think the way that I lead has to come from the heart. And, one of my core beliefs is that believe all the good you hear. Everything good that you hear, believe it. And only believe the evil you see with your own eyes. Because a lot of this leadership journey is about getting rid of the background noise, isolating it, not paying attention to people's opinions and gossip and all that stuff that you haven't verified and don't know. And so if you approach it in a way where it's about serving people and helping them get what they want, and I always approach leadership from a heartfelt, servant-based position. And so when you're serving people, I think you have to have empathy. And empathy is really important. You have to be able to understand their journey and see their struggles, and yet you have to help them know that what they want is bigger than those struggles and that journey. I also think that a leader's greatest ally is feedback. And sometimes that feedback isn't great. And if it's feedback the leader is struggling with, then the leader needs to look internally, not externally. And I think where people struggle is they don't like what they're hearing. Well, if you don't like what you're hearing, fix it, damn it. And look inside yourself to see how you can be better. I think we have to always be striving for something greater than ourselves. If your leadership journey is about you being great, it ain't gonna be fun. You're not gonna like it. So I would tell anyone who wants to get into leadership to look hard at their motive. Why do they want to be a leader? What is it about leadership that compels them and brings them energy. And if it's about having a position or a title, then it ain't gonna work out. It's about serving others and helping them get what they want and striving to be bigger than who you are for them. It's going to work out great. It's not going to be easy. It's not always going to be fun. And yet, I'll tell you what, when I look back on my happiest days, it's when I was striving and pushing the hardest. It wasn't when I got to the top of the mountain. It was when I was climbing the mountain through a steep climb. That's where I got fulfillment. And I think others are the same exact way. They get fulfillment from the climb. They just have to be committed to the climb. They have to have the community that will support them on that journey.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, that's great.
Mark, for a lot of the leadership group that we're in our leadership academy, if you were, I love people who've been on a journey that we're all on, because they're farther ahead. They can see things that sometimes you can't see when you're on that journey. What advantages or greatest gifts do you see for the leaders for the people that are at Keller Williams, that they might not be seeing as the true potential opportunity it is, or the gifts that they might accidentally miss if they're not careful? What would you tell agents that are with Keller Williams that maybe kind of like you and I and Dana, we were kind of asking ourselves what else, and I love to succeed through people. What would you tell them maybe some great opportunities or advantages or gifts that they might miss if they're not careful?
I would tell them to focus on who they're being first, and stop looking outside of themselves. Let me tell you a quick story, because I love this story. Back in '91, when I first started at Keller Williams, and I was a 29, 30-year-old branch manager, sales manager, whatever we called it, before we were called team leaders then, I brought in a series of trainers over a month, one a week, who did a full day training session to help the agents of the Southwest Market Center at that time do better, because the market wasn't great. And training needs to be the foundation. Learning is the foundation of any action plan, or should be the foundation of an action plan. And one of the speakers we brought in was this lady by the name of Verge Talek. And Verge was the #1 agent in Houston at the time. She worked for a competitor. And she wasn't particularly attractive. She was like a large lady. She wasn't like a ball of charisma or anything like that. But she walked up on stage, and she took the microphone, and she said, "I want to tell you all what the 10 most powerful 2-letter words are. When you put them all together, it's a mantra that will be the most powerful mantra for your real estate career in your life." And this stuck with me so much. And the words are, if it is to be, it is up to me. I would tell everybody in Keller Williams that there are unlimited opportunities available. And yet, if it is to be, it's up to you. And I think that if it is to be, then what's going to be starts with your vision of who you are and who you want to be in the first creation. There are 2 creations to everything. There's the spiritual creation, and then there's the physical manifestation that follows that spiritual or that mental creation of what you want. Most people, and I got this from Bob Proctor years ago, and I loved it. Most people start on the physical plane, which is, what do I want? And then they go to the mental plane of thoughts, ideas, not thoughts. And they never get the opportunity to access the spiritual plane of thoughts. So I would say start really thinking on possibilities. Get a clear vision for what you want. See yourself being that vision. Live as though you are that vision. I remember this story about how Dr. Gross made, I think it was Diana Kokoska, made her go try a 5-carat diamond on to see how it felt. Made her go buy St. John suits or go put them on, how they felt, and to see yourself like that. I think you need to see yourself as who you want to be. And then all the ideas that you need will pop up.
Yeah.
And so stop thinking that there are limited opportunities. That's malarkey. That's hogwash. I don't buy that ever. Anybody who tells me that anybody who tells me that I can't get what I want because of circumstances of where I am is crazy. I mean, there's more opportunity in the largest company than there is in a smaller company. Think of the fish in the pond. The fish grows in direct proportion to the size of the pond. You got a really big pond. You got lots of places that you can explore. And you've got a huge opportunity for growth. So you want to fish. You want to be a fish in a big pond, not a small pond.
Yeah, love it. Love it. Dana, you want to end us up with one last great question for Mark? I could talk to Mark. You say, Mark, I miss you.
I miss you, Linda. So fun.
I know.
You look great, by the way. You like time has stood still.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see. I had 19 and I've asked 2, so hold on. Let me pick this up.
I have a lot to say.
Mark Willis, part 2.
I know we are definitely going to have a part 2. Okay, let's end with like a talent leader question. What are the top 2 to 3 qualities that you believe make a great leader, or that you would look for in talent?
Well, number one, I want to know what they want, and I really want to get inside their heads first and look for opportunities for alignment. I want to watch what they have done over time, because history tends to repeat itself. And when I think of leadership, I think that if you're leading others, you've got to have self-discipline for yourself. And so I look for self-discipline, and then I always watch their behavioral style. Because behavior gives us advantages or disadvantages in any role. And we should always be in the place where we're most advantaged, not disadvantaged. And I look for someone's heart as much as anything. And I want to understand that heart, because I think that the real goal of a leader is to earn the hearts and minds of the people they lead. I watch how they treat family members. I look at whether or not they still have long-term friends. I'm at one of my best friends' house. We've been friends for 40-something years. I look for whether or not they have earned relationships over time. Because if you've got a bunch of spotty relationships in your past, you're probably going to need to fix that before you can lead in the future. And I look for character, and I look for competency. Character, first and foremost, because you can teach skills and you can make someone more competent. Linda, I think you'll probably remember this. We used to have a list of all the things you couldn't teach. You cannot teach character.
Yes.
You cannot teach integrity. You cannot teach those things like ethics and principles and whether or not you do the right thing. And whether those are just things you can't teach work ethic.
So true.
I'm harder than I've ever worked, and I don't feel like I work a single moment. This is fun for me. I'm having a blast. So you look for the things you can't teach, And then you look for as many of the things as you can teach. You can teach someone how to do a public speech.
Mm-hmm.
Public speaking is just a muscle that you have to develop. You can teach someone how to set goals. You can teach someone how to do a spreadsheet. You can teach someone how to read finances and understand financial numbers. But you can't teach a lot of things, and I want as many of those things that you can't teach as possible. And it starts with character and who they are.
Love it. Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
true. Love it. Well, Mark, like we said, we could go all day. We just want to say thank you. One last time, why don't you tell people where they can find your leadership academy and things that you have, because you're a wealth of wisdom that people can learn from and grow from. So what do you have and how do they find you?
I thank you, Linda. I appreciate the opportunity to serve the great women and men in real estate, and we do that through Mark Willis Leadership. The easiest way to find Mark Willis Leadership is go to willisleadership.com. Get on our mailing list. I promise you, we're not about selling you anything. We're about bringing you value first and foremost. And we're about helping you navigate your real estate career with tools and resources that I've developed over time. A lot of them inspired by Keller Williams. A lot of them came from my incredible journey. And by the way, you guys need to know, I still have Keller Williams assets. I love the company, and I'm the biggest proponent of the Keller Williams model that exists in the whole world. I have such admiration and respect for Gary Keller and his brilliance, and I have admiration for the company and all the great leaders of the company. And so, please go to willisleadership.com. It would be my honor to be able to serve you in your real estate career. And sign up for our journal. We have a quarterly journal that comes out. We've got all sorts of great tools. And I share a lot of stories. Some of them may be stories that you just heard. I'll tell you that the mission of Mark Willis Leadership is to encourage and empower real estate agents to thrive personally and professionally. And, that's dominion, have dominion over their careers, not have their careers control them, for the agent to have dominion over their career and their lives.